Welcome everyone. Today I wanted to touch upon best budget buys for men. I get a lot of messages asking me for recommendations for budget fragrances, or a lot of questions saying, Dimitri, is it really worth me spending $400 on a bottle of fragrance? Can I find something similar for a much cheaper price? And you know what? I think it's really important to observe the fact that yes, you can find incredibly good fragrances for a lot less than you'd normally spend. It might mean you've got to look through some of the discounter websites or visit pharmacies or big kind of chemist chains and things like that. But I actually enjoy that little treasure hunt. It's incredible what you can find. So today I've pulled 6 fragrances from my collection, and each of those fragrances really represents a good buy. And I've kind of split those 6 into 2 subcategories as well. One which we could call the Spring-Summer collection, and one which we could call the Autumn-Winter collection. Conversely, you could say daytime and nighttime, but I just like the idea of building a fragrance wardrobe which is good for all year, any occasion, day or night, work or home, you name it. So we're going to kick off with the first portion, which is our Spring-Summer collection, and the very first is a go-to fragrance. I'm going to separate them individually as something you can wear any day if you just want to throw something on before you go to the supermarket so you don't smell like you've been baling hay or whatever the case might be. Then something which is good for smart casual, jeans and t-shirt out with your friends, and then maybe something for evening. So let's start now with number 1 in the Spring-Summer collection, and it is Acqua di Pino by Pino Silvestre. So Acqua di Pino is a fabulous, inexpensive fragrance. I spent $29 on this scent, and it's a cracker. And it's even sort of almost presented in a bottle very reminiscent of a high-end niche brand called Acqua di Parma, whose fragrances go for well over $100, $200. But this just proves you don't need to be spending that kind of money. Acqua di Pino has great notes with pine, there's geranium and sage. It's got wonderful lemon and orange notes in the top, so a nice brisk flight. There's great notes with violet leaf, there's vetiver, you name it. It's a beautiful kind of all-rounder. It's got a wonderful brisk freshness about it. It's one of those things that is a lazy grab. If I stand in front of my perfume wardrobe in the morning and I look at the countless bottles, I'm like, really overwhelmed with what can I wear. Acqua di Pino is one of those scents you just want to grab, spritz, and out you go. Beautiful scent and very good, reasonable quality for under $30. Next up, we're going to look at our, our daytime kind of easy, casual sort of scent, and that will be Jil Sander Sun for men. So I've been wearing Jil Sander Sun for men for about 15 years, and I really fell for it on a trip to Europe some years ago. Sun, as the name might suggest, really kind of points to summer, the height of summer, to the beach and things like that. And I do kind of feel like it's got a bit of a casual beachy vibe, but it hasn't sort of gone with those, cookie cutter coconut or vanilla solutions to create a sense of the beach. It's actually a really great sort of aromatic, spicy fragrance. It's got bergamot in the top note, there's cardamom and nutmeg in the heart, and the base is sandalwood and musk. But the sum of these ingredients really makes for something which is great with your crisp white shirt and jeans. If you're going out with friends in the early evening, or if you want to catch lunch with someone, Jil Sander Sun is a bloody good fragrance. The 75ml size, which this is, 75ml, you can probably pick up for about $30, which is incredible. I mean, a fragrance with this type of quality is actually hard to come by, and it's become a favorite with all of the friends I've introduced it to, so certainly worth seeking out on sites such as fragrancenet.com. Our third Spring-Summer fragrance, and one that I've adored since it was first launched in 1996, is Chrome by Azzaro. Yes, it's been around for a long time, and a lot of people have worn it, fallen in love with it, fallen out of love with it, you name it, but it's one of those scents that I keep going back to. In fact, it was the very first scent I wore which garnered compliments, and that was a whole new thing for me, people just stopping me randomly in the street back in the 90s. It is a great fragrance, and as the name suggests, it does have sort of a slightly metallic feel. it feels way more expensive than it is. I think I paid $49 for a 100ml bottle in Chemist Warehouse here in Australia, which is a pharmacy chain. And it's one that I can't fault at all. I've turned friends onto it. I've had other friends ask me where they can buy it. At the moment, we're sort of going through a period in Australia where it's becoming a bit more difficult to find. I don't know if it's been discontinued or being pulled from the market, or there's just a supply issue. But Chrome is spectacular. A really complex grouping of notes though. Again, I'm going to struggle to remember them all, but there's, rosemary, there's bergamot, pineapple, there's vetiver. It's got great notes in there of jasmine. It's just a really unusual blend, and one which feels like it has presence. You've got gravitas as you walk through a room with this fragrance. It's bright and it's fresh, but it also feels quite sophisticated. So if you wanted something for the office, just a light spritz of this during the day in summertime would be perfect. Or even on date night or going out in the evening, you can spritz a little bit more, and it does have that wonderful projection and sillage. You can't go wrong with Chrome Azzaro, and for less than $50, you're laughing all the way to the bank. Now try and stay with me here, everyone. This one is super cheap. No, it's not Brut or Blue Stratos or Old Spice, but it's kind of in that universe. It's the original Tabac. Now, Tabac was created in 1959, and it's still been in continual production ever since, so that speaks to its mass appeal. Just because it has a cheap-ass label on it doesn't mean that it's a cheap fragrance, and in fact, this is another really complex fragrance. It's got great notes of tobacco, as the name suggests, but there's a whole lot of other greatness in there too. There's iris and rose and jasmine, lavender, there's oak moss, you name it. It's such a great woody, spicy scent that is kind of uplifting and bracing. It does lean slightly more towards autumn, winter, or maybe evening, I don't know. It's just one of those fragrances which has got a bit of a spicy kind of aromatic projection, and it's one that I love. I wore this years and years ago at university, and again, I was asked, what sort of thing are you wearing? What's that smell? I really love your cologne. I was a little embarrassed at the time to tell them it was a $19, bottle of fragrance from the chemist, but I've still got a bottle in my collection today, and it's one that I've not lived without ever since. You can get 300ml bottles of the original Tabac cologne for about $30, $29.95 or something like that. This is just a little 50ml. It cost me less than $20. So again, cheap as chips, but it doesn't mean you've compromised on quality. This one's a great all-day grab, and it's one that I love to wear if I'm just bumming around the house and just feel like a bit of uplifting mood, that kind of thing. Next up, we've got our second fragrance in the autumn-winter collection, and it's Vera Wang for Men. Now, I remember when this was first launched in around 2004-2005, it used to cost just shy of $200 a bottle. This beauty I picked up just a few days ago for $29. It is spectacular. This is really where we see a shift in some of those discount budget fragrances into something that is really high-end. It feels super expensive. I mean, Vera Wang's a bridal designer chiefly, and this feels like the perfect groomsman kind of scent. Or even for me, just something you'd wear autumn, winter, if you want to feel a bit casual, any time of year really. If you just want to sort of step up your game a little bit, it's great for intimate date nights, and it's a real beauty. It's got, perfect notes. There's leather and tobacco in there, which are sort of steeped and quite diffusive. It's got great top notes with yuzu and mandarin, so a nice citrus balance to those richer notes. It just feels like money. And you know what? It remains semi-transparent. It's not really cloying. It's not really, it doesn't have huge projection or anything like that. It's quite an intimate scent. I think for $29, you're buying a $200 fragrance. If you haven't sniffed Vera Wang for Men, or if you're not familiar with it, rush out and have a sniff. I mean, it's also available here at our Chemist Warehouse franchise, and I don't know why more men aren't wearing it. It's a beauty. Finally, Altamir by Ted Lapidus. This one is taking up place as the third in our sort of autumn-winter preferred fragrances, and it's a great fragrance. Good bang for your buck. I was put onto this one by a good friend, Rodrigo. If you're watching, Rodrigo, thank you. This is a really great scent for evening, and I say that because this one has that kind of sillage and projection that everyone kind of yearns for when they're out on the town, or if they're in a club, or having a bit of a meal with a friend or something like that. It is a great fragrance, and it has a very kind of rich, textured feel to it, and by that I kind of mean it's kind of got it's a cloak that you pull around your shoulders. And I know I used that expression a few times, but it's more than a smell. It actually has a sensation to it, the sensation of warmth or familiarity. Altamir is brilliant. It's got wonderful notes again. There's pineapple, neroli, and orange in the top, so quite semi-sweet and fresh and brisk. But the base notes in the heart, jasmine, there's amber, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver. It's got all that wonderful richness below. And it feels wonderfully cashmere soft, but definitely has presence. I think some people have likened this to Sauvage by Dior. I kind of feel that texture that I'm talking about, that thick blanket of warm spices and everything, is on par with those type of scents. And $30 a bottle for 100 mils. You're dreaming if you don't. If you haven't gone out and sniffed Altamir, it is becoming like a modern classic. It's quite popular in in the designer circles and in fragrance land, I suppose. And for good reason. I think if you're looking for an inexpensive option to some of those really high-end luxury designer brands, this Ted Lapidus fragrance is a great one for you. So I hope anyway that you can kind of understand, yes, you can build a wardrobe out of inexpensive fragrances. In total, for these 6 scents, I paid less than $190 Australian, which I guess roughly calculating is about 135 odd euros, about 170 US dollars or something like that. I'm not sure what the exchange rates are. But it just proves that you can have something for every occasion, any time of day, any season of the year, and not have to break your budget. I mean, for $190, that's less than the price of a Penhaligon's perfume here in Australia, for example, or half the price, less than half the price of an Amouage, which are all great brands and great fragrances. But yeah, we're here to talk about those budget recommendations, and I hope you found something amongst them that might pique your interest. Drop me a note below. I want to hear what your favorite go-to inexpensive men's fragrances are. I'm always on the hunt for, new fodder. I want to put something under my nose and see if I love it. If you've seen something that's inexpensive that it's your ride or die fragrance, drop a comment below and I want to hear about it. Also, if you've heard or sniffed any of these, what your opinions might be. Thank you for joining me again, and I hope that you drop in again and hit the subscribe button. You'll be notified when I upload new videos, and we'll talk to you very soon.